I'm glad this shows us that this meeting is accomplishing what we set out to accomplish, that you all feel it's important enough to be here. And there's a lot of y'all today, so thank you for being here. Let's start with a moment of silence, and we'll jump right into it. All right. Does anybody notice anything different about the agenda? No rumors? Well, that's a good point. I'm looking for, there's a new name up here. Kayla McBain. So if you, yeah. There she is. I know she's here. A name that's not up here, though, is this gentleman at the back of the room. He's here. He's a technician from Pathways. Probably doesn't want me to call him out, but I'm going to. He's here, so they've been here all week. There's another one in the back, too. Look at him. He's been here all week. Sorry. Yes. Oh, please turn off your cell phones. Thank you, Sue. The folks from Pathways have been here all week working on the AV system. So we've had some challenges. They have identified what they think is the problem, made some corrections, but it never fails. When we get more than 2 people in this room, we always have some issues pop up. So we asked them, say, guys, will y'all be here and watch the system in action? And they said, sure, because they're good partners and we appreciate them. So don't heckle them too hard. I'm going to provide some really quick updates. So first, I touched on this last month, but I want to share it again because it's really close now. I'm not going to try to dance around the feedback so you guys hear what's happening. But we do have a dining satisfaction survey coming. So again, this is a really, really important and helpful tool. Pause for our friends. Because this is how we're going to drive some strategy moving forward. So everybody will get this survey. You'll all complete it. That'll help us establish a baseline of how we're doing. Tim and his team have made a lot of improvements, a lot of changes. We hear a lot of positive feedback, but we want to hear from everybody. So we're going to get that baseline, and then we'll survey on an ongoing basis, kind of a rotating group. So, small groups will continue to get surveys. So everybody will get a chance to survey the first time and survey again, and this will help us get some consistent, ongoing pulse of how things are going, and that'll help us in a couple of ways. First, we're going to continue to adjust based on that feedback. We will discuss those results with the dining committee, and the main thing, if you don't hear anything else, what you share with us is going to help drive our strategy. So we want your voice, your input. We want you to engage with us in the dining program, and this is one of the ways that you can do that. So be able to look out for that. This is up here as a request. So I shared real high level back in, I think, October or November. We did a lifelong learning survey, and someone reached out to Mary Wallace and said, Mary, I don't remember hearing about that. So Mary reached out to me, so I did want to share this. A little refresher, these were some criteria at the bottom here, curriculum that we were looking into. So science, American history, world history, wellness, health, life skills, hobbies, religion, spirituality, and then arts, visual performing, live arts, that kind of thing. So this is the results from that survey. We had about 30% participation. And so here's kind of how this broke down, with arts and American history being the 2 most popular, followed by wellness, world history, science, so on and so forth. The other thing the other 2 things we sought out to get here is how do you want to learn? Learning preferences, so in-person, group lectures, small group discussions, hands-on, virtual learning, self-guided, guest speakers, and field trips, immersive experiences. So for this, remember, the lower preferences are better. We had everybody rank these 1 through 7, your most preferred to your least. So in-person lectures and guest speakers were a clear favorite. Hands-on and small groups in there too. Pretty good disbursement though. We also measured time of day. So if you had a preference for a lifelong learning programs, what time of day would you want them, and how frequent? Weekly, every 2 weeks, monthly, other. There was really no clear preference on frequency. It was almost virtually even. But the afternoon was a clear front runner for that. And then we asked for some open-ended feedback, asked you to rank, circle anything you would like to attend. And these are the top 2 from each of those categories. And this number in parentheses represents the total number of people. So 42 people circled that they would like to attend a class regarding music in the brain, 41 for the aging brain. And I'm not going to bore you and read those to you, but that's how that broke down. And then we did have a space for open-ended. That's right here. So environmental sciences were pretty popular, current events, and astronomy. So I shared this one because Mary Wallace asked me to, and we always want to keep Mary Wallace happy. 2, it was a good reminder. Whoever reached out to Mary, I think I saw you come in, but thank you. It was a good reminder. We shared really high level, not the specifics, and so happy to do that. The other reason, I hope that you're starting to see some common threads here with some of the programs that we've been putting together recently. We're going to go ahead and start working towards some of this. And then we did roll out our lifelong learning program. We had a pretty immediate hiccup with one of our instructors having a conflict and had to back out. But Mary and Cassidy did a really good job rallying, getting a substitute, and I look forward to that whole sort of program category and the connection growing, and we'll really have something special. Oh, I'm sorry, I left that off. Life skills and hobbies did not draw much interest at all. I think only about 12 people selected something there. So you all have your own hobbies, and we appreciate that. Nobody wanted to learn Spanish or guitar or any of those things.
I wanted to learn Spanish.
One person. Sorry, Linda, I didn't want to call you out. But Linda wanted to learn Spanish. Nobody else did. I'm with you. I told somebody today that was my New Year's resolution for about 2 years. I couldn't quite get it to stick, so I abandoned that. But yeah, so more to come on that, but I did want to share it. It was a good reminder. Thank you for making us aware. I'm going to turn it over to Tim for dining update.
Good afternoon, everybody. Tim Zook, Dining Services Director. Happy to see you all today. That's a blank page. Here we go. So coming events for the next month. So we're going to have Pub in the Hub down at the Hub. Signups should be on Icon shortly if they're not already there already. It's going to be a great event. I know the menus have been published. There's copies of the menus in the Hub as we speak. And we had a great time last year, and it should be a really nice event this year. We've heard you. We're going to go back to doing breakfast at dinner time again this month. So it'll be in Coles and the Ruth on March 25th. So looking forward to that. I know that's always a big one. People love to have the breakfast at dinner time once in a while. Easter brunch on April 5th. That will be a buffet brunch in the Cobles, and it will be a seated buffet in the Ruth. So we'll have more information coming out on that and signups for that as time permits that one. Travel the World this month will be at the Ruth again. We're really loving to use the Ruth now that we've renovated, and the space is really nice now. So we're doing the Italian day buffet over there, and we're looking forward to that also. The reservation platform. So we gathered a group of residents. I think we've got about 12 or 15 that are from the Guilford side that will be joining us to kick off the reservation platform in the Ruth. So my assistant Christina has gathered those people up. She's having a meeting with them on Friday in the Guilford boardroom so we could show them all how to use the platform. A couple of the volunteers were ones that were volunteers on the Coble side also, so it will be nice that we have some people that have already done that for them. And we're going to start with that group for about 2 or 3 weeks to make sure that the bugs are all worked out of it and that everybody's starting to understand it. Once again, remember, reservations will not be mandatory, but they'll be recommended, especially for larger groups. We're always going to take care of everybody, no matter whether you have a reservation or not, you're going to get fed. But it makes it much more convenient for yourself. It makes it much more convenient for us to know how many people are coming in, especially if they're larger parties. So it has worked really well at Kobol's. We've had a hiccup or two, but nothing major, and hopefully it'll do the same thing for the Ruth. So we're really looking forward to that. So once again, Christina's already talked to the people that are going to be in the test group, and then it will roll out the following Monday. So this Friday is the test, and Monday we'll roll it out officially. Happy or Not scores. So as we talk about every month, Happy or Not, or the comic cards, or when you punch in on the machine. Last month, I was explaining to you the improvement it helps us make, because we see it in real time, and we can do some real-time training when we see the comments, and we love that. So as you can see, the Hub scored 97% positive again this month. Hub always does really well, but they were still 3% higher than last month. So some of those real-time training opportunities paid off. Same thing with the Ruth, 92% positive, but 3% up over last month also. So once again, really doing a good job of seeing what you're writing and letting the managers and the staff know what we can do to improve on those things. And Kobol's at 91% positive, 4 points over last month. So really good jump there. You know, we like to keep them all in the mid-90s at least, and we're well on our way to doing that. So thank you very much for the people that do use the comment cards, use the Happy or Not. There are several residents that email me occasionally. They have an experience that they want me to know about, and they'll email me, and I try to get back to them within 24 hours of that also. But we really appreciate that. I've had some people tell me in the past, I'm sure you're upset when I give you bad news. I'm never upset when you give me negative news. I really want to hear those things so we can work them out. And I thank you all very much. Dining committee discussions. So sometimes people stop us in the hallway, stop myself, stop Matt, and ask about what is going on in the dining committee, and just want to give you a little high level look at what's been going on lately. So we're talking about placemats and table settings for the Kobol's. Once again, we've redone everything on the Ruth, and we're trying to do a little bit of a refresh in Kobol's and wait till next year to do a major refresh. But we're talking about those types of things. Takeout accuracy. It's funny, that one we put on the agenda for today. I had quite a few takeout comment cards on my desk this morning. They were all pretty positive. I think we're getting much closer to where we need to be with that. In the beginning it was a little rough, but once again, it usually comes down to making sure that everything that you order is in the bag and it's there correctly. So they were all good this morning, so it was really nice to see that. Server training. Once again, I think you can see the increase in the scores from Kobol's and Ruth. Talks to that quite a bit, because a lot of the things that we see on the comment cards are server training, and so you can see that we're heading in the right direction there also. Daily menu special strategy. We're always talking about menus. We're always talking about what is good, what people don't like. We're always trying to move things around. The new menu for Kobol's rolled out just the other day, and it looks like it's getting a lot of positive feedback there. They're working on the next menu for the Ruth right now, and so we're real happy to be able to roll that out as soon as possible. And then menu suggestions and requests. So those are the high-level things that we talk about at the dining committee. But if you know who your dining committee presidents or chairs are, Hank Gutman is over here on the west side, and Nancy Detler is over on the Guilford side. Get with them and get the information to them, and we will discuss it at the dining committee meeting. And I'm going to hand off to Whitney at this point. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Whitney Ariza, and I'm happy to share some campus life updates with you. The first, you get all of this information on Icon and the connection, so I try not to go over everything because I'd just be repeating what you've probably already read, so I'm just going to do a few highlights. The first is on Tuesday, March 10th at 7 p.m. in the West Living Room. We have Leroy Pridgeon coming to play jazz. He's been here before. He's a really great musician, and we're excited to have the trio come. So look forward to that on March 10th. And then on Wednesday, March 11th at 10 a.m., the Guilford Library is having their big book sale that they do every year. I think it's 50 cents for paperbacks and $1 or $2 for the hardcover. You can get some real steals there. I got a lot of books last year. But they'll be doing that on March 11th. And then on Monday, March 16th at 7 p.m. in the Guilford Living Room, we'll have the Walsh Kelly Irish Dancers. They're really fun. We had them last year. They put out boards on the floor in the front of the living room, and they do their dancing. So it gets crowded in there, so get there early. It's a lot of fun. And then Resident Michael Smith will be speaking on Friday, March 20th at 2 p.m. here in the West Living Room, and he's going to be talking about his experience with the gray whales in Southern California. I know that our resident presentations are very popular, so mark your calendar for that one. And Matt mentioned lifelong learning earlier. A few highlights we have coming is, I believe it's tonight. Today's Wednesday, right? So tonight at 7 p.m. we have Professor Gregory Grieve from UNCG. He's going to be talking about sacred sites around the world. Tonight he's going to focus on Nepal. So mark your calendar. You don't want to miss those. I think he's a very good speaker. He's gotten a lot of awards through UNCG in his teaching career. So we're excited to have him. And then we'll start a new astronomy program beginning March 12th. It'll meet Thursdays at 11 a.m. We have Janet Vilas coming from New Garden Friends School to speak on astronomy, and she'll be doing that series through May. And then we've had our cultural dance series. We had one yesterday that focused on Celtic dance, and then Tuesday, March 17th at 11 a.m. it'll focus on the Celtic violin with some stretch and movement, and this is with Emily Whitley. And then a few things I'll hit on for spiritual wellness. Bobby Nicholson is here. If you have any questions after our presentation, she'd be happy to answer any of those. But we have our annual service of remembrance, Wednesday, March 18th, 11 a.m. in the Guilford Living Room and 2 p.m. in the West Living Room. And this is where we're remembering any of our residents who have passed away over the past year. Actually, it goes back to the fall of 2024. So we'll be remembering about 90 residents this year in a very special service. And then on Tuesday, March 24th at 4 p.m., we're having a Passover celebration. This is one that you'll want to sign up for on Icon. You can do that online, or you can see Paula at the front desk, and she can get you signed up. But we are having Rabbi Andy Corin come, and he's been here many times before, and we're excited to learn more about Passover and celebrate this special holiday. And then the last thing that I'll mention for spiritual wellness is some residents approached Bobby about starting a new type of support group, and that's for those who are facing or have faced health challenges. So it's going to be, the first gathering will be Thursday, April 9th at 2 p.m. in the West Gateway Lounge. And this is just a group that can come together and support one another. So if you've faced any health challenges or you currently are facing them, this would be a wonderful support to you. And of course, Bobby can answer any questions about that. All right, and now I'm going to pass it to our new Director of Wellness, Kayla McBain.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Got some very exciting things going on in our wellness world. I need a third arm. All right, so first thing I want to talk to you about is this Friday, starting in the Guilford Living Room, we'll finish in the Fox Concourse, is our Friends Homes Artist Showcase. If you think back, last month we did our Kentura Artist Showcase over at Wellspring. We had some very talented residents share their gifts visually, with performances, and literary. submissions, and so we want to really showcase them here at Friends Home so y'all can enjoy that as well. So go ahead and schedule to be at the Guilford Living Room at 3 o'clock this Friday, and then we will go over to the Fox Concourse for some refreshments and enjoy the visual arts after that. All right, second thing, I'm very excited. We have been invited back to Wellspring for a square dancing night next Friday. The activity will be from 7 to 8:30. We'll leave here at 6:30. And those that have asked, it is square dancing, not line dancing like last time. So go ahead and sign up on Icon so we can turn in an accurate number so they know who to expect. They're really looking forward to hosting us again. Next up, if you came to my Encompass Well talk yesterday, I talked about our 8-week Kentura Walking Challenge. So this is where a few of our sister communities get together for a friendly competition for us to move more. So even though it says walking, our exercise classes count, our pool classes count, and any of the walking that you do around campus intentionally for exercise, and if you're using things like the treadmill, elliptical, and new step, things of that nature in the fitness center. If you are interested in participating in that, I have a clipboard. It'll be right outside on the table where the 5K registration table is. Let me know. You can email me as well, and I'll write you in on my list so I know who to expect to participate. And then I personally think I've saved the best for last. Ta-da! Who knew we were having a 5K next month? Yay! Who has signed up? Very good. I don't see everyone's hand raised, so we have some work to do. Now, let's think back to last year. For those that joined us last year, just to refresh your memory, we had roughly 180 participants, residents, staff, community members that came and spent their Saturday morning here at Friends Homes. We raised roughly $18,000 for the Resident Financial Assistance Campaign, which I think is a very worthy cause. However, I am a little competitive and I want us to go bigger this year. Our goal is 200 participants at least, so once we get 200, keep signing up, but also at least $20,000. So this is an opportunity for us to, one, spend time with our neighbors, our families. This is where you can invite your families, maybe even from out of town, to come in for the weekend, enjoy themselves on a Saturday morning with some good old exercise. We'll put in a request for sun like today. And it's an opportunity to show how proud you are to live at Friends Homes and how you can pour back into a worthy cause like this. And lastly, since Pathway Technologies is here, I'm going to call them out. They're one of our sponsors for the 5K. Let's give them a hand. We are very grateful for your support. We hope you join us that Saturday as well. Get your running or walking shoes ready. And then other than that, we have the registration table outside. You can stop by my office if you have any questions on that process. We would love to have you there. All right, I'll turn it over to Daryl.
Hey everybody, I'm Daryl Shores. I'm the EVS and Grounds Director. Mostly what I'm going to talk about today is grounds. It's finally getting close to spring, so we're getting 75-degree days and 80-degree days. And most of the time, this is when we usually do pine straw and mulch earlier in the year, usually January, February time frame, but snow kind of got in the way for that. So we're going to push that back a little bit, so that should be happening in the next week or so. In the past, I've always done just pine straw, typically throughout the entire community, but as most of you know, it doesn't last that long. It starts to kind of gray out. So instead of this year, we're going to start incorporating some pine bark nuggets in certain high key spots, so like around gazebos, entrances, and things like that, and slowly start transitioning a little bit more of that pine bark nuggets around the foundations of the buildings. And then some of our tucked away spots, we'll still be using pine straw. So we'll get a mixture this year of both. This year we'll be using a different vendors from last year, and we'll be bed edging all the flower beds before we put that pine straw or that mulch down. So everything's gonna be nice and tidy and really clean looking after we get done doing that. In the next few weeks too, we'll start doing some turf applications, so we'll be spraying out some of those winter, spring weeds that we have, some clovers, Dallas grass, things like that, and that will really kind of improve that fescue or Bermuda that we're kind of making sure we're getting a good hold of to really start thriving throughout. Part of that application will include a liquid fertilizer as well, so we'll really kind of jumpstart that. Now that we're getting good temperatures and we're getting some like rainy days too, that'll be a good mixture to kind of get everything going. This last fall, we did do some overseeding. Actually, we overseeded the entire community, but not everything took. So this spring, we'll also be doing some of that overseeding in some of those spots that just didn't take that well. And that'll really kind of help kind of blend everything together too. So we'll be doing 2 applications of overseeds a year. The last thing I want to mention too is, so like usually we swap out like all of our containers and those pots that we have around the community. We'll do a spring install and a fall install. Right now we're still enjoying our fall with those pansies, but in the next month or so, so like late April, early May, you want to try to time it with the last frost. We'll be swapping all those out to the petunias mix that we kind of have from last year. But I just kind of want to get ready to that general synopsis of where we're going to be in the next few months. So for those that don't know what pine straw looks like, I'm pretty sure everybody does. That's the top. And then our bottom is that pine bark nugget. So it's going to be, we'll probably be using the minis though and not the bigger pieces. That way we can kind of rake it and make it look fresh pretty quickly if we wanted to really like revamp that spot. And when I say turf applicator, I want to make sure everybody kind of knows, because some of you may have seen that, but we use a ride-on applicator now. It's kind of like a zero turn without the wheel per se. But that allows for us to get a quick spray, allows for us to really diagnose and see those spots. He's also got a hose attachment too that he can hit in some of those spots that he can't quite get to. But just want to kind of give everybody a heads up of what that looks like, and that should be happening in the next week or so. So I know I've mentioned this the last few months, but I want to say it again now that we're starting to get some rain, we're trying to get those heaty days, or those warmer days, and we're going to start getting that kind of flow. Again, we use Works Hub. Our pest control company is attached to that, so they get those work orders directly. So that allows for them to kind of know exactly where to go, what to do, and kind of who they're talking to when they get to that home. So again, no work orders too small. If it's one ant, that's fine. That allows for us to kind of track everything and really kind of understand what needs to be done if we need to take a more aggressive stance there. But please go through Icon, use Works Hub that way, allow for us to kind of track all those issues as they come around. And on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Mark.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark Ford, and I am the Director of Maintenance. This is my update. So Guilford, the roof project is pretty much wrapped up. We're going to resume focus on just beautifying the other public spaces in Guilford. So we're going to try to start painting hallways and corridors and that sort of thing over there. The coat hooks and handles, there's a request from some residents that, the new bathroom partitions put in, the handle's really hard to grab to pull the door shut. So we added some coat hooks and handles to make things easier in there and got all that finished up. There's been some new wallpaper installed in the admin corridor, trying to fix up some old spaces. Thank you for telling me to hold the mic closer. And the Birches area had some pipe insulation repairs that we took care of. Here at West, and I'm hesitant to do this because it always backfires, but I'm going to try it. There was a lot of hot water pressure issues about a month ago, and last time I was up here. I think I've got all those fixed. Yes? Hot water pressure issues fixed at West? I'm not getting any no's, so I'm going to say yes that it's fixed. It's on there. We also upgraded the fire alarm dialer system. So that's the old way that a fire alarm worked is it would, kind of like a modem, it would connect and there'd be digital signals that went along the plain old telephone lines, POTS for those folks that know that type of stuff. And we got rid of it and we put in the new cellular dialer system that has the backup POT system too if we need it. And at the hub, we repaired the water lines above the coffee station. I apologize for having to close the hub. It affected myself and my team as well because we like to eat there a lot. but we had to fix the water, so we got that all finished up. Here's a whole lot of stuff that we're working on now. Over at Guilford, we're still work in progress for the roof replacement. It is ever so close to putting out final dates and times and scope, so stay tuned on that. I was gonna brag about replacing a door from the Woolman to Fox Concourse. There's this old beat up fire door that's there. And unfortunately, the team that went to install it today, it was a 1/2 inch too big. So it didn't fit in the frame. So we're gonna try again. I don't have a door shrinker. I've got a door stretcher, but not a shrink. So the Fox Concourse, we had a bathroom, 2 bathrooms that are there, and we're refreshing those bathrooms based on some resident feedback. It was a weird situation where it's a single bathroom, but there's a bathroom partition in the single bathroom. So you could have somebody come in and wash their hands. We're just gonna put a lock on the door and get away with the whole thing and make it a lot like the bathrooms here at West. So it'll be a much more comfortable situation. The pool, this one is one that I think everybody is interested at both campuses. We are scheduled to reopen on Tuesday next week, 3/10. That is the best information I have today. If anybody peeks their head in the pool, they'll notice there's still a lot of cleanup to do. There's still a lot of water to put in the pool. And we have to get the pump systems up and running and everything balanced. So as of right now, I feel like I can make that happen. But if and when that changes, I'll let everybody know as soon as I can. Sometimes those pumps don't like to start up after they've been off for a while, so I've got my homework cut out for me this weekend. But stay tuned, I will give updates as I can, but as of right now, the pool will be open on Tuesday. And we're continuing to chase the smells in the hub. We've made some progress. You may have seen us take the water fountain down. There between the locker rooms, we found a pipe joint that had some leaks in it. We've got that fixed. We're investigating a few other areas, but I'm afraid it's people are gonna laugh at me. It's about how the wind blows. So the way the sewer pipes work, they've got vents that take the smelly stink out of the building and they let it out the roof. But the way that building is built, all the HVAC equipment's kind of down in a hole. So if the wind's blowing the wrong way, it kind of circles down that hole. That's where we pull in the fresh air and occasionally catch a whiff of something else. So we're working on ways to adjust and redirect those vents some more. We've done that once already, but I've got a different vendor on board, and we feel like we're making progress there. Here at West, fingers crossed, we expect to stay in the cooling mode for the foreseeable future. I don't see anything on the horizon that would prompt me to change it back over to heating mode. So I think we're in the cooling mode to stay for a long time. I was just texting with the gentleman. The parking lot lights that had been not working as well as they used to have all been replaced. So that they just finished that up. So thank you for the folks. We asked you to move your cars and that sort of thing yesterday. We had to get the big bucket truck in there to replace those fixtures, and they just wrapped those up. They replaced 7. And at Magnolia, we are doing the second half of the hallway, kind of doing the same painting type things and refreshing that space, making it look beautiful. And at Cobles, we're still working on the light dimming issues and opportunities to dim the lights in that space. And I've talked to a number of residents. For those that had lunch, was it Tuesday? And the lights were flickering. That was my fault. I'm sorry. We were working on that, trying to make it work, and we're still trying. There's a number of challenges. One of them is emergency lighting. So there's one light that always stays really bright, even if we have the other lights dimmed. That's part of the fire code stuff. So that's why we're working with a lot of folks to try to get it all worked out. But just know that we're trying. We've heard you. We'd love to make Cobles a really nice space. That includes having the lights be dim where it feels like it should be dim at a nice dining venue. Upcoming projects. At Guilford, I mentioned the roof replacement at Hobbs, and I touched on the paint work. Again, I'm going to ask our painter to basically go from the front doors all the way up and down the admin hallways, eventually hit the second floor, and do the same thing over here. Working on how much we're going to do that self-perform, how much we're going to bring that into the vendors, and really focus on beautifying these public areas. On both campuses, there's sidewalk grinding. Now the warm weather's here, I've got to get that scheduled where the sidewalk may be lipped up a little bit and be a little bit of a tripping hazard, that sort of thing. We're going to try to grind those down and smooth those out for everybody, make it safer. HVAC, so 6-month filter changes are coming up. If I'd have to go back and check my records But I believe we did those in October, November, so 6 months from then, and it's coming up soon. So you'll hear more from us when we set up those dates and times. And the marketing house, we're gonna try to expand that parking a little bit, that drive in the marketing house. Anybody's ever visited the marketing house, may have been a long time ago when you signed up to come, and thank you for doing it. But that driveway is really narrow, and we want to make it wider for people to use. And the other thing is, now that we have that nice bocce court, it'd be nice to have some parking close by, and there's some other things that we could use parking for in that space. So we're going to try to add about 5 or 6 spaces by that marketing house. In addition to pouring concrete there, soon we'll be pouring concrete here and extending the sidewalk around the pond and around Juniper and connecting behind the Magnolia area. Details are still being finalized, schedules are still being finalized, final agreements are yet to be inked, but we are making good progress. Had a couple walks with the vendors, and we're going through the final approval process now. More to come on dates and times. And we're also looking at all the resident entrances. All these doors, not necessarily the main entrance or the hub entrance, but the doors to the 1,000 building or the 2,000 building. It's come up from some residents. There's a zillion signs on those doors. And I don't know if anybody stands there and reads them all. It'll take a while. But they're all of different eras, and they all say different things. Some of them may still apply, some of them may not apply. And the whole door frame just looks like it needs to look nicer. We're creating a project to consolidate the signage, make it look prettier, have it say what it needs to say, not have it say all the things it doesn't need to say, and repaint the space and make it look good for you. And last one is piping insulation. So really from where Matt's standing, if you can imagine in your mind, he's standing by the doors to back, all the way down the hall past his office, past Paula's desk, down to Coble's, from Coble's all the way to loading dock. There's lots of pipes in the ceiling, and they all have fiberglass insulation, and some of it is not as in good condition as it needs to be. And we're gonna replace all that. So you'll see some gentlemen on ladders over the next couple weeks working up in a hole, pulling stuff down, putting it back up, and they're just fixing that pipe insulation. My main goal is to try to get ahead of these drips that we're seeing everywhere. I'd love to do it everywhere in the building, and eventually we will, but we're targeting the areas that we've seen the most impact and most issues, and we're taking care of that insulation and getting it fixed. So you'll see that project over the next couple weeks. And that's all I've prepared.
But other than that, not a lot's going on, right? This is amazing when you think about all the things that are happening here. It's just all those projects, all those events. Daryl explained what's about to happen for the spring. It's pretty amazing. There's a lot going on. And thank you to the team for doing such a great job. Here's our financials. We took a little bit of an uptick, which is a good thing. In our total operating income, you can see that 40,000 over there. I'm going to use the pointer, but it's kind of hard to see. Our revenue is very strong right now because our census is really strong. Month over month, our census, there's very few rooms at the inn. And that's helping to cover our expenses, which are outpacing our budget a little bit. I know it looks like a big number for us, but in a $41 million budget, it's very reasonable. You might be wondering what's causing that. What are the trends for that? So we're seeing a higher PTO, paid time off expense, which is accrued through hours worked. We're seeing a higher overtime amount. We've shifted away from using agency workers as much as we used to in our healthcare venues, but and that's a good thing. If you can avoid using agency workers in healthcare, you will improve your consistency and quality of care, and it's always better if it's our staff providing the care. But that's resulted in overtime because it's more of our staff who are working and picking up hours, and so we're hoping to see that number go down as the year goes on. But put those two numbers together and we're running a positive variance of 40,000 year to date. Now this is for January. Our investments are strong at 81 million. Our outstanding bonds payable, that's our debt, is 93 million. We'll make a big payment in around September, late August, early September to bring this number down. We do have money in escrow in an interest-bearing account that is going to be used to pay that debt down. We have collected $1.6 million in entrance fees compared to a budget of $2.3 million. That'll continue to fluctuate up and down. We're not concerned about that number at all. And we spent about $2 million in capital expenditures. Those are the big projects, those are the big pieces of equipment that we buy, just things that are needed throughout the year to keep the community running. And there's some nice to haves in there as well, but generally it's renovations to apartments, maybe replacements of air conditioners or just other pieces of equipment like that. The Ruth dining room is a big project. That was a capital expenditure. So as we go on, by the end of the year, we have a budget to spend about $5 million on things like that throughout the year. Just again, nice things to have, but mostly it's things that we really need in order to keep the community running. We always set aside 5% for charity care, and that's our financials. We are doing well. You can see our budget in green for a number of financial ratios indicate that we're in a strong financial position. We're outpacing our budget in just about every category, which is great. We should all be proud of that. So well done to the team, and well done to the residents who are helping to make this all possible. I just wanted to give you a master planning update. The last time that we presented to you about the master plan in real detail was this summer. And that was at the end of our schematic design phase. So the schematic design is really just a high-level footprint of what we are hoping to achieve through our master plan. And it takes a while to get there, about a year. It took us to get to that point where we felt like we could share with the Board of Trustees and ask for their approval, and then share with the residents to say, this is what we are hoping to achieve. We're now in the design development phase, which is the second of 3 major phases in the creation of a master plan. And so what we're doing is we're looking at that footprint, that high-level design, and we're drilling down into more details. So we're looking at the mechanical, the electrical, the plumbing planning. We're looking at the site plan, drainage, landscaping, the design, FF&E we call it, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and also the concepts of what are we going to do with some of these spaces within this master plan. Now remember, the first phase is we're building 51 independent living units. It was 50, it's now 51. And we're planning to build a new assisted living facility over at Guilford, which will serve both of our neighborhoods. Today we met with, there's a group of about 20 residents, and there's representation from all the phases of construction here at Friends Homes. But there's this group that we've been meeting with since the very beginning. And we've been sharing these plans with them. We've been seeking their feedback. Just asking questions. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? What would you like to see here? And they've been providing us with a lot of great feedback. So today we met with them. We presented a rendering of the outside of the building. It's premature to share with everybody because it's all up in the air still. But basically, I just want you to know that we are continuing on the project. We are at the phase where we are drilling down to finer details. And there will come a point where we feel like the design development phase is substantially complete, and I foresee that we will be presenting to you all, the residents as a whole, just like we did in the summer, we will be presenting that phase of planning to you as well. So there'll be more to come. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have afterwards if you'd like. Oh, the other thing is that, every phase gets us closer and closer to better understanding the cost of the project. The more you drill down, the more you understand about the mechanical systems and what's actually going into the building in detail, the better opportunity you have to understand what the true cost will be. We're actually working with a third-party accounting firm to help us get really, really accurate with that pricing. I've heard over the snow events, you all remember, it almost seems like a long time ago, but it really wasn't that long ago that we had 2 major snow events here that affected our community. And I heard a few times, number one, we received a lot of emails and letters commending the staff. And many of them ended with, I hope that you're recognizing the staff for the job well done. And we are. I just want you to know the chair of the Board of Trustees wrote a really nice letter to our staff. We wrote some nice messages, and then we also were able to thank them with, it's a symbolic gift. It's not going to change their lives in any way, but we wanted to give them a token of our appreciation with a gift card for the folks, especially who spent the night. That's really who we highlighted the most. There's a number of staff that left the comfort of their homes and their families and committed to coming into the community to work overnight. And the value to us, there's a lot of versions of value, but whenever you have an event like that, you don't know who's going to show up. And somebody might say, I'll be there, but depending on what happens overnight, they may not be there in the morning. And for those folks, especially who committed to spend the night, we didn't have that issue. We knew who was with us, and we knew who would help us to get that job done. And so those are the folks who really got the gift. But I wanted you to know about another group of folks, another group of employees. And we asked the managers to recognize some folks within their department that just really stood out. Every team has superstars, and who are the folks that really, really stood out? And so we got 6 names of folks that really just shined. They were our superstars or our rock stars. I called them stormtroopers if you're a Star Wars fan. Yeah. That's what we used to call them in Florida. We had a lot of stormtroopers. So here's our folks. Walter Johnson, he's in dining. He's a utility worker. So he does dish and he cleans a lot for us. But Walter worked for us through both events. And he did things that were just very different from what his normal tasks are. Basically, whatever we asked for help with, he did it. He salted sidewalks, he did all kinds of things. And he slept up in the boardroom during the storm. So not the most comfortable accommodation, and certainly not the most private accommodation either, but he was willing to do that. And then I think most people know Steve Ruth. Does everybody know Steve Ruth? He works on our grounds team. If you happen to go out, especially in the last event, you would have seen him out there, bulldozing snow and just doing whatever it takes. But before the storm, prepping all the areas, after the storm, addressing the snow and ice, and certainly during the snow, working hard. Jamie works over at Guilford. This one really stands out to me. Jamie walked 2 hours from his home to friends' homes to get here and work during the storm. He wanted to make sure that he was here, and he was scared to drive, and so he took it upon himself to walk. Now, we did ask Jamie, why didn't you just ask for a ride? He's like, I didn't want to bother anybody. I knew you were all working on things. And so I just think it really speaks to his dedication to our community. Scott Rodever, he was, similar to Steve, just doing everything he could to help and to get that snow out of here, pave make sure the paths were clear. He just worked really, really hard. Michaela was behind the scenes, I think, a little bit, and I think she often goes overlooked. She gets overlooked because of her position and what she does. But Kayla was like a Swiss Army knife for our dining team. She could do a little bit of everything. She has a little bit of expertise in everything when it comes to dining services. And she was willing to do whatever was asked. She was very present with the staff, helping to lead and lead by example. Carla Long is very, very similar. She's on our dining team. She handles primarily our healthcare venues, especially over at Guilford. But she was picking up staff and bringing them to work. A lot of folks, they don't feel comfortable driving. They're scared of the unknown, and we can all understand that. Well, she went and she picked people up and she brought people home while working through both of the events. And Lakita, I love this. Lakita, she works hard for us. She does a lot for us. She's a We Care ambassador. She does a lot of training for us. She's a med tech. And it happened to be her day off. But when she caught wind of an employee who said, you know, I'm scheduled to work, I'm supposed to come in, but I'm just afraid to drive. She said, well, I have all-wheel drive. I will take you into work. And so that's exactly what she did. On her day off, on her time off, she made a point to bring her coworker and make sure she got there safe and home. And so we just want to recognize these folks in front of you so that you see who some of our all-stars are. And if you see them in your daily travels, maybe, you know, make mention of it, that you're aware of what they did and thank them for their hard work. Okay, it seems like a fast meeting today, like everybody's moving quickly. We're happy to, we've got Cindy and Kelly coming around with microphones, and we're happy to answer any questions or respond to any comments you might have. Okay. Yes. Thought we were going to make it out.
Okay, this is not a question or an answer. It is a suggestion to all of you based on a need that I personally have had. I would like to suggest that we use Community Feed on Icon. Does everybody know what Community Feed is? It's the little, I believe it's a green bubble that looks like what you would see in a newspaper comic strip, the little bubble. I believe that's Icon. Is that correct, Whitney? Okay. So some suggestions for using Community Feed would be, as I said, I've had a personal need recently, having had serious surgery. There were days when I just needed somebody who was going to Harris Teeter to pick up something for me. And I know we have people that go to Harris Teeter every single day to run to get something, or CVS. I also needed somebody to unload my groceries. I was able to drive and pick them up, but I couldn't lift them out of my car, carry them to my apartment, unload them, because of my lifting being restricted. So a simple message on Community Feed would reach out to the entire community of people who use Icon and who would know to look there. You could put out, I need help with my groceries today about 3 p.m. Or could you run to Harris Teeter and pick up a gallon of milk for me? Other ways that we could use this would be if you have a giveaway. So I can think of 2 things in my apartment now that I'd like to offer up for free to anybody who wants them. So somebody could just jump in online and say, hey, I'd like those. And the first person to respond would be the person that got those. I sometimes have extra tickets to the symphony. So again, that's another way you could use this, is to post. I have an extra ticket for the symphony next Saturday. Would you like a free ticket? I'm sure you can think of other ways. Right now, Community Feed is being used to post photographs and to talk about the weather. And you can certainly, everybody can certainly continue to do this, but I would love some input on how people feel about this. I think if you wanted an immediate response, rather than waiting to get a message sent back to you, you could include your phone number on that post. And then if somebody picked up that message and could respond to you, they could call you. Those are just some ideas I've had, but I'd like to see this kind of communication going through our neighborhood. I think it's something that many of us could respond to quickly, and I think it would be beneficial for everyone in the community. So does anybody have any response to that?
It's a good idea. Great.
And Whitney, you said it was left, it's the green bubble.
Well, I think all the screens look different. On the left side, there's like a,
Yeah, you won't see it from here, but on the left side, there's a menu of items, including, let's see, calendar, campus maps, and under that it says Community Feed. That's where you click, and it's kind of like if you have Facebook, kind of like your Facebook wall, where you can post and see others posting, and you can make comments on the post.
That's a great suggestion, thank you. We support that. Any other comments, suggestions?
I have a question.
anyone keep track of the number of meals that are served at Cobles? The number of meals?
Yes. Is there something that interests you regarding that?
Well, it seems that I know more and more people who are not going to Cobles, myself included, and I just wondered if that shows up in those numbers.
Yes, we review that in a couple different ways. And Tim, and really that's to Jordan's point, that's a Michaela job. Michaela is really good about taking that data, slicing it. So when we meet with dining committee, a good example of this, we review the top 3 selling items and the bottom 3 for each restaurant. We can do a lot with that data, and yeah, we do look at that. And we have noticed an uptick at the Ruth and a downtick elsewhere. And we feel good about that. Competition is healthy.
We feel good about the competition.
Yes, if we were to see a noticeable downturn everywhere, that would be a big problem. And we would be coming to you all and saying, what's going on? But it tells a good story when we look at it, and we feel good about that.
We look at all those numbers too because it's, you know, it's how we manage our business, the business side of things, you know, how we manage the labor and how much food we are going to need to purchase, what's going to stay on the menu, what might go, and you know, overall utilization is pretty important to us. So, yes, we do track that. Okay, any other questions? All right, hearing none, thank you for coming.